Welcome everybody to episode 14 of The Female Perspective from MXP Magazine. I'm your host Jackie Reese, joined by Don McClintock this week. Don, how are you?
Hi, Jackie. I'm great. How have you been?
Good. I when I came up to Canada, you were my second mom. Really took care of me, guided me through everything, Canadian motocross. So I'm really excited to catch up and share the whole story.
Awesome. Yeah, that was a fun time.
And honestly, it seems like a really long time ago, but really it was 3 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say that was 19, I think, when you came up, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. A
yeah.
lot's happened since then.
Yeah, I don't know if you've listened to the news at all, but things have been happening since then. Uh, so I'm pretty excited to share your story with the listeners here at MXP. And like I do with most of these podcasts, I want to start at the beginning. So, how were you introduced to motorcycling and motocross more specifically?
Well, I think growing up as a rural kid, you're going to have a dirt bike, right? So my dad bought us a used little XR 75. My brother and I, we had to share it. That didn't go over very well. But yeah, we had trails back at the creek here, so like every day we that was our summers. We were like down there on our dirt bike through the trails, catching leeches and crayfish and that kind of stuff. So that's really where my start was, just trail riding on a little mini bike. So yeah.
And how did that progress over time for you?
Um, well, when my brother sold it for parts, I didn't have a bike for many, many years, and I loved it. And I guess it was 2004. I got a call from a fellow who had worked with my ex-husband. They were starting an ad agency, and they were also in talks with Davy Coombs at RacerX Illustrated magazine. They were wanting to do a Canadian version of that magazine. And so they were looking for an art director to come on board to not only do the marketing stuff for the design studio, but also to take on the design for the magazine. So I was their first hire. And as it turned out, our marketing was for Kawasaki Canada. So we did all the marketing for them as well as their whole website. So that's kind of how I dipped back into the industry. And, you know, it's kind of one of those things when you fall off your bike, and you get back up on it. Well, I hadn't ridden a dirt bike since probably I was 14. So that's a long time. So yeah, there were some ride days involved with the staff. We would go up to Moto Park or go for dunes, and we'd have ride days with the staff. Yeah, that was fun. We had my junior designer we hired fresh out of college was Jolene Van Butte, who turned out to be, the Nitro Circus fame and now stunt woman. And so we kind of developed a really good relationship, and we were kind of in the trenches together, close cropping spokes and sprockets, till 2 o'clock in the morning together. So yeah, we bonded quite well. And then with the magazine stuff, she helped with that. And we also had Allison Kennedy, who is now a contributor for MXP magazine. So there's kind of another circle going there. So yeah, we got along famously, and yeah, I miss those guys. As it turns out, Jolene is running a lodge in Northern California right now with her brother. And Allison's down there right now staying with them for a family holiday. So they've kind of been reunited this week. So yeah. Yeah. So
That's
that's kind of where that all started with RacerX. So
Yeah, I feel like okay, so I wasn't really involved with Canadian motocross at the time of RacerX Canada. So I guess like how did the broader picture happen? How were they like, yeah, let's have a Canadian version of the magazine, and how were you involved and why did it end?
I'm really not quite certain how it started. I know Blair Morgan played a critical role in introducing the guys to Davy Coombs. So I think where credit is due, it's Blair, which is pretty cool. Um, so yeah, that's just kind of where it started. And it was a print, it started out as a print edition bound in the center of every other RacerX Illustrated magazine.
Hmm.
And then eventually we evolved to just our own freestanding copy. I have one here. So you can see it was much thinner than RacerX Illustrated. It was probably double that thickness. So yeah, it was like a big victory day when we had our standalone. It was packaged with RacerX Illustrated. It was kind of a big moment for us. So yeah, it was. The print ran until I think 2007, maybe into 2008, and then it dwindled off. And they tried doing a digital version, but that was kind of in the very early stages of print turning to a digital version, so it didn't really fly.
Hmm.
So yeah, I miss it terribly. It was the coolest job I had at the time, but we'll get into cooler stuff later on in our conversation because cooler stuff did happen. Um, so yeah, it was definitely my big foot into the door in the industry, and I met so many people that to this day, I'm very good friends with all over the world. Really, um, it uh, it came with some pretty neat perks.
Hmm. What were some of those perks?
Just well, I guess in 2006, everybody was busy doing stuff, and they said, "Hey, Motocross Day Nations is coming up. Uh, we don't have anybody to go. Can somebody shoot for us?" And I'm like, oh, man, I took photography in college, but I was always I was always the person in the office, in the chair, behind the computer. Nobody at the track really knew me. Like they knew Allison and they knew Lissa Moore and Jay Moore and Danny Bro. They were all out at the track all the time with the riders. So I was kind of one of the ones that was back behind a desk. So I wasn't really that well known. And I thought, well, I can shoot. So they were like, well, let's get you set up with a camera and send you over. So that was like my very first solo uh, traveling experience. Oh, here, there's Starkey. And it was amazing because I met people from all over the world that shared the same passion as me. And, I met two Swedish photographers that I ended up being in the same bed and breakfast with that were at that particular race. And I was trying to find a way to get from this town center to the track. So I was trying to work out how to get a bus to get there. And they're like, oh no, we got a car, we'll take you. So I had these two Swedish guys and they took care of me the whole weekend. And, I became friends with them and I met, Irish guys at the track that, I mean, the one guy, he's our rep in Northern Ireland now,
Mm.
because of our association. So it links you with people that are so passionate about the sport all over the world. And it doesn't really matter if you don't know their language, like some of them, there was some pretty broken English with the one Swedish guy. I did struggle, but yeah, it's really amazing when you all come together for something like that, how you're kind of attached, you know. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. It, you know, it, I guess it doesn't need to have words. Like, you're all there for the same thing and watching these incredible athletes compete, and it's really cool to hear that, you got this opportunity. And you alluded to earlier that you went on to do bigger and better, cooler things. What was the next step for you?
Well, I mean, there was a void when RacerX um, closed. There was a big void. Um, so my ex-husband, that I was still married to at the time, he was a web guy, and Danny Bro was I guess he was our junior editor, writer at RacerX Canada. He was still really wanting to be involved at some level. So they kind of partnered up and they created a website called Direct Motocross, DMX. And so they had me help with content and edit. And I spent many hours editing Chris Pomeroy's editorial. Yeah, and so then that was another evolution of a new entity that we took on, and it was fantastic. It came with its bumps in the road, a new thing starting out. But we were well connected with people in the industry, and they were willing to contribute, and it kind of rode it out, and then I guess the guys wanted out of it, and a guy named Kyle Carruthers kind of stepped up to the plate, and he's like, well, I would love to run with this. He was more of a sales oriented guy, but he was really rooted in the sport, very passionate about it, so he was a good fit for that. And so he ran with it for a couple of years, and then he had Big Wave Billy Rainford help out with that. And then eventually Kyle saw a new path to his career. So Big Wave Billy took over DMX, and he's still slugging it out there, man. I don't know how he does it, but he's out there, providing content every day and doing a great job. So it's nice to see that still, doing its thing. And, it was a proud thing to be part of in the initial stage. So yeah, that was pretty cool. So that was one cool thing, but I moved on from that to work for Andy White, doing the marketing material for KTM Canada. Um, I was needing work, and he had some design needs in the marketing department, so he had me doing, some of their advertising and the team posters and just different little things, POPs they'd have in stores and stuff like that. So that I rode that out for a while, and then he got let go at KTM, and he found this vein at FXR that opened up, and he said, we could really use some help. And this was in 2015, and so he said we need some help with our web media, and we need some graphics done for social media, and we need some help with some race support. So I kind of had a few different hats that I wore at the beginning, and it was kind of more part-time than full-time. And then it just evolved into this machine where race support evolved into this massive thing. And he's like, we're going to have to switch your hat, because race support is going to be a big hat to wear. So I've been doing race support since 2015, and it's been amazing. Like I said, like if you could have a cool job, this is it. And there's days when it's hard, but I think when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. And I have many days where it's like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. What is your favorite part about your job now, working with riders from across the entire continent here in North America?
Well, not just the entire continent now.
Oh, more.
Yeah, they've pushed. Now we're in the UK and Europe too.
Awesome.
I think the most rewarding thing is seeing a kid start out as a young amateur and evolve into an intermediate, and then hit the pro rank, or on the cusp of the pro ranks, and you just see them through all those different stages, how they train, and the support that they gain with their sponsors rides right along with that. I've got so many riders that are brand loyal, and they just beat the drum on that, and you get rewarded for that kind of stuff. So it's been fantastic, and like I said, it's just that is the most rewarding thing, is seeing these kids evolve. So yeah.
When you're looking for people to sponsor or people send in their application, what are some of the attributes of that application that really stand out to you and make them a more suitable applicant from a sponsorship standpoint?
I think the ones that really take the time to fill everything out, like you can tell when someone's rushed, they're like, they just want to get it in. But it's the ones that take the time and patience to, sift through the results, and list to me, three of your races that were, stood out from last year? That's what I want to know. What were your highlights of your racing career that meant the most? And yeah, it's just it's it's mind blowing, the variety of ones that are committed. You can just tell, and then there's the ones that are just there for the ride. So I try and make it fair for everyone because everybody needs a chance.
Mm.
But yeah, definitely the ones that put in the work, showing the results, um, the ones that push their social media. I always say to my riders, look at your social media because it's free advertising. Really, like, this is your tool to progress yourself as a rider. You could be a mediocre, shitty racer that doesn't get great results, but if you rock your social media, you're gonna do well. I mean, take a look at Dean Wilson. I use him as an example all the time. Like, there's a guy that you know he struggled because he lost his factory stuff, and what am I going to do to keep myself in the spotlight? Well, he turned to his social media, and like, you just need to see what he did today for FMF.
I
Just
saw
as
it.
a prime example, that guy has a chasm in his ass right now, and he used that as a marketing tool for FMF. And that, like, hands, I tip my hat to Dean. That's how you do it. It
Mhm.
is.
Yeah, it's awesome. And he's, someone that I think that comes naturally to, someone who's really funny, from the outside looking in, of course, I don't know him, but, funny and creative and witty. So I think, playing into your personal strengths, right? Not everyone is funny and witty, like,
Yeah,
but social media can be whatever you want it to be and whoever you are. And I think, like you had said, if you use it to your strength and highlight the best parts about your personality, I think, it's free advertising and something that a lot of businesses even don't notice that it's free advertising.
they don't. They don't. And it's unfortunate. Like, even some really top pro guys, they don't get it.
Hmm.
And it's unfortunate because they could have a really good package if they just applied that. But oh well.
Yeah, or hired someone. Like you
Yeah,
could.
yeah, exactly. If they're at that level, they could.
Yeah,
Yeah, very
yeah,
easily.
yeah. Pretty cool.
Mhm.
So looking back on all these roles that you've played in the industry, um, how, as a woman, how has it felt? Have you felt welcomed? Have you felt that you've maybe encountered more tribulations throughout the journey working in the motocross industry? How's it been?
I think for me, I'm kind of more in the background. Like, I'm not a racer. I don't think I've really experienced a whole lot of that. It's been very equal, and I mean, I for sure see it on your side with women racers who get the short end of the stick all the time. So I'm very well aware of that, and I try and support my women riders as much as I can because they have to work twice as hard to get sort of the prestige that a guy would. So we see it every day. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm glad that on your end, though, it's been good and professional, and
It has. Yeah.
sometimes I think that that lacks in this sport, just a sense of professionalism.
Yeah. Yeah, it has. So, no, I've been lucky that way. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you feel passionate about continuing to support the sport in all these different roles that you've had?
hmm. Um, just, I think just to see it grow, like, I mean, even since COVID, we've seen this surge of the sport where little league people couldn't have their kids play ball because there was lockdown or whatever, so there weren't team sports. Well, motocross isn't a team sport. So dad's like, hey, I used to race when I was like 14, so I'm going to buy my kids some bikes and we're going to go do it. And so we've seen this whole new um, pack of people showing up at regional races and that we've never seen before, and it's like these new people. So I really love that I'm seeing, young girls latching on to this, and I hope it continues to grow. I think our sport's in a really good spot right now as far as that. We
Mhm.
just have to nurture it. So
Yeah, like we were just talking about, I was down at Millville a couple weekends ago, and they had more riders on the 50 track than on the big track that weekend, which
yeah,
is all you can ask for, right? That's how it was when I was a kid, and
exactly. Yeah.
it's awesome to see it. Back back when I was a kid, it was me and Jerry Robin and Henry Miller and all these other kids on the line at the 50 track at Millville. So I hope that, that's what we see, going forward for Minnesota motocross, but of course Canadian motocross as well, wherever it's relevant and local.
Yeah, me too. It's great. And seeing these little Stasic bikes now making a presence for the smaller kids too. I think we're seeing less training wheels. Kids are developing that balance, which I think is amazing.
Hmm.
So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like they're so small when they learn throttle control, braking, balance, all these things that it'll be interesting to see where the sport is 20 years from now, 15 years from now, and
Yeah,
what kind of skill that those kids can bring and how the style will change over that
I
course of
agree.
time.
Yeah, yeah. I think we will see a change. So, mhm. Oh, excuse me.
Who's our next guest here?
Emily, sorry about that.
Uh, so, what does the future hold for you, Don? What are your goals?
Um,
What are you looking forward to?
I'm just slugging it out here. I love what I do. Like I said, it's not like work some days. Some days it is. There has been some suggestion that maybe I might be going to Loretta Lynn's this August. It's been a bucket list item for me, and it sounded like work needs some extra hands possibly this time around. So I've thrown my name in the hat. So we'll see what happens. It's nothing guaranteed, but I for sure would like to go, and I know so many of these riders through email, through their Instagram, but I've never been in front of their face. So it would certainly be nice to meet some of these riders and you know watch them race. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's for sure on my bucket list for this year. So travel is always been part of what I did when I was with RacerX. I've been to a few races overseas, and we took an off road. Um, it was an endurance race in Iceland. I went twice. The second time I did take Allison Kennedy with me, and we just had the most amazing time. So, if there's a chance to travel, yeah, I'd want to do that too. The vet motocross of nations at Farley Castle has always intrigued me. You see some of they get some of the vintage bikes in there too, and yeah, I would enjoy that. So yeah, we'll just see where the wind blows me.
Uh, and probably Canadian Nationals this summer, I would guess. Go for doing super close to your house.
Yeah, I'll probably head out for the Manitoba round. They usually fly me out to Winnipeg because we try and do a staff ride day where you've been to that, where we invite riders to come and join us, and we have a full day of sort of fellowship and riding and good food
Hmm.
and that. So they usually fly me out for that, and then we try and tie in a marketing meeting somewhere in the mix. So and then I'll probably do some of the East Nationals. I probably won't go out to the East Coast, but certainly all the ones in Ontario I'll be at. So yeah.
So, in conclusion, here, Don,
Mhm.
for anyone that may look up to you and all these roles that you've had and this impact that you've had on the sport of motocross, what advice do you have for them?
Um, I think maybe persevere and weather through the tough times because if you keep pushing yourself, you're going to get to where you want to be. And I've pushed pretty hard to get where I am, and I'm in a happy place. So I think it's all about perseverance and just being strong-willed and maybe a little bit stubborn.
Uh, Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been so fun to catch up and share your story.
Well, thank you. It's been great to chat with you too.
Awesome. And we'll see everybody else in a couple weeks for another episode of The Female Perspective.